Now, our first guest this evening needs no real introduction. He's a superstar, and we were amongst the first to realize it. Jackson Hinkle, political analyst and host of the wonderful show Legitimate Targets. Jackson, as always, a big welcome to you on the mother of all talk shows. Two things in particular I want to ask you about, and the first is the most pressing, I think, and that is Venezuela. It seems from all the chatter that these maniacs are seriously going to disgorge American forces and American missiles on the Latin American giant of Venezuela, backed as it is by Russia and China. That could end up in World War III, couldn't it?
I think so. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. It's always a great honor. This new effort by the Trump administration to wage war on Venezuela, I mean, I didn't think that this administration could get any worse, but now we're at a point where it obviously is about to. Why not release the Epstein files? Can't do that. Can't fix our broken cities. Can't release the JFK files. Wage a war on Venezuela, we can do, however, okay? I mean, this is absolutely insane. Of course, we already saw the attack on the vessel this week. No one really knows what was on that vessel. They claimed it was a drug trafficking vessel. But if you just use more than 2 brain cells, you can probably pick apart why it was not a drug trafficking vessel. I mean, boats like that, speedboats, they want to have as little weight as possible because they want to carry as many drugs as possible. There was, I think, like 11 people on that speedboat. There were several people on the speedboat. It didn't have the capacity based on the amount of fuel that it can actually carry to reach anywhere near the United States. And instead of intercepting that vessel with any of the number of ships, which have helicopters on them, in the region, which the Trump administration has deployed over the past few weeks, they decided to airstrike it. This is not the sign of a strong military, of a strong country. This is a clear indication that the United States is very weak and worried that people all across the world see and understand this.
I feel that the fishing boat, as it is now said to have been, will turn out to be a kind of Gulf of Tonkin incident. It has clearly and immediately been unmasked. Its engines, its fuel couldn't have got more than 200 miles. If it was headed for the United States, it wouldn't have had 11 people on it. 10 of those 11 would have been bags of cocaine, just for the purposes of weight. And it seemed like Trump genuinely believed it, which leads me to conclude, A, that he's an idiot, and B, that the people who are advising him are malicious in the extreme. But it will, I fear, be seen as the first shot in a totally bogus, puerile pretext for an attack on Venezuela. Now, you and I both know of Venezuela. We know about Venezuelan nationalism. We know about Latin American nationalism. We know that they ain't going to be anybody's backyard anymore, and they're not going to be kicked around by Yankee Doodle Dandy up north. So the Venezuelans will fight this.
Yes. I mean, I think many Americans also are going to have a real wake-up call when they learn about Venezuela. I mean, this is a country who is, yes, socialist, but deeply Christian at heart. It's also a country that has a strong love for guns. I mean, you have millions and millions of people all across Venezuela that are part of the People's Militia. So these are not the UCLA, the Harvard Socialists that Fox News talks about, the fake socialists. These are real socialists that have a true conviction for their message, and they're fighting for their sovereignty. As for, the earlier point you mentioned about the drug trafficking, it is true that there's drug trafficking in the world. And I think that if Donald Trump really wants to get a hold of it, he should look at the U.S. role in funding and arming all of these drug cartels all across Latin America, mostly in countries that are, by the way, allied with the United States, that are not considered adversaries like Venezuela is. In addition to that, he can look at Secretary of State Marco Rubio, whose path to wealth was embarked upon as a result of his own brother-in-law running a $70 million per year cocaine trafficking operation out of Miami. If he wants to go after criminals, why not release the Epstein files? If he wants to stop leaders that are deranged and barbaric and out of their minds, maybe he should find someone else to lead his new Department of War, someone other than Pete Hegseth, who's not a raging alcoholic that is, out of his mind 24 hours of the day. Unfortunately, I don't think we're...
No, but they're going to get a rude awakening if they attack Venezuela. Of that, I am sure. And that will be of some compensation for the rest of the world. They may start a fire burning right across Latin America, which will very definitely be against the interests of the people of the United States. And on that point you just made, when Britain and the United States took over Helmand province, the source of most of the heroin, the production of heroin under British and American rule in Helmand rose by 90%, 90. And since the Americans left Helmand province, the production of heroin has fallen by 90%. So the idea that the United States is a genuine anti-drugs fighter is for the birds. Now, I said there were two issues on which you have particular expertise, Jackson, and the second of them was Yemen. The people of Yemen endured a long war, 7 years, I think, of starvation and sanctions, and Western-led Saudi and Emirati and other invasion forces, and they defeated them. They have formed the only dignified government in the entire Arab world. They're the only people in the whole world taking action to try and stop the genocide in Gaza. And so Israel wiped out their government last week, from the Prime Minister downwards. Ministers that both you and I have actually met in person are now dead as a result of an Israeli attack. Again, entirely illegal attack on political leadership of a sovereign country. So the Yemenis answered today, and Israel says it's going to answer plus in the days to come. This too is another potential World War III flashpoint, isn't it?
Of course. I mean, the ramifications of what goes on in the Red Sea. You have deep sea cables there. You have obviously the pressure point of international shipping through the Red Sea is immense. There's really no overstating it. As for the Yemenis' action today, I have to say a very strong, I guess I won't say anything that'll get you banned on YouTube, but I'll say I'm not surprised by what took place today because ultimately, the Yemenis are one of the most incredible people on the face of the earth, regardless of what you think of them. 20 years ago, they started a revolution in their country against their very well-armed government. It had jets, it had heavy artillery, it had tanks. And within 20 years, a group of about 60 men now run their country and have the capability to strike Israel with hypersonic weapons, with ballistic missiles, and with drones, as we saw today. So I can't say I'm surprised by any of this. Yemen is just another country that Israel and the collective West have seriously underestimated. I think probably more so than any other country on the face of the earth. Maybe Venezuela will top them off in terms of just how much they've been underestimated. But, I have a very, strong affliction for them. And I was heartbroken to see the news of the airstrikes, which killed all of those government ministers, the prime minister as well. You just have to put the shoe on the other foot to understand how insane this is. if Yemen were to take out all of the government ministers of Israel, how would the world respond? If Venezuela were to airstrike a random U.S. vessel in the Caribbean, how would the U.S. respond? Everyone knows how these countries would respond, but for some reason, the multipolar world, the anti-imperialist countries, are supposed to play by the rules that no Western country has to play by.
Finally, Jackson, and perhaps preeminently, there was some agreement between Moscow and Washington this week, and that agreement was that it was the Europeans that were deliberately prolonging the war in Ukraine, which could otherwise have been resolved between Trump and Putin. It seems to me, someone living in Europe, not just in the UK, but elsewhere in Europe also, that this is entirely correct. That the only people who want this war to continue are the circle around Zelensky and his European patrons. Now, what are the Americans capable of doing about that?
Well, obviously Europe rhetorically is very supportive of Zelensky, but let's not forget Trump in his first administration was the first one who supplied the Patriot batteries to Ukraine. Trump right now, he could shut off Starlink. He's not even friends with Elon Musk anymore, as I understand. So why not shut off Starlink for Ukraine? Their military would be in shambles within 48 hours or less. There's still a weapons flow to Ukraine. As I understand, that's a very difficult thing to turn the tap off on because of how many parts and pieces and organizations are involved in the international flow of weapons. So that might be a bit difficult. But there's a lot of things Trump could do to wipe his hands clean of this conflict right now, or say, 7 months ago, 9 months ago, that he has not done. And I think it's a bit ludicrous of Trump to always come out and make it seem like Europe or Zelensky, or sometimes he blames Putin for prolonging this conflict. You're the president of the United States. Stop acting like everyone else is the problem here. I mean, you're in the most powerful position in this whole equation. And what is he doing? He's not doing much of anything. He's having some meetings, some phone calls. Hopefully we see more action very soon, because as he does correctly point out, people are dying each and every day. And for Ukraine's sake, you mentioned Kupiansk a few minutes ago. Kupiansk doesn't look so good. Sumy doesn't look so good. There's the largest advance that Russia's had at any point in the SMO since the first week right now. So something needs to be done if they want to actually, as they say, stop Russia.
Well, as our friend and tonight's other guest, Che Bose, frequently points out, in fact, I think he now does it at sunset every night, Ukraine is smaller than it was yesterday, and tomorrow it will be smaller than it is today. The Russian advance, if this is not resolved diplomatically, will continue until the liberation of every last person of Russian ethnicity, every last Russian speaker is liberated, and as every last piece of territory from which, across which, Russia could be harmed in any way is back in the Russian fold. So anybody who says they support Ukraine ought to be saying, let's get this thing resolved diplomatically. Otherwise, you're not supporting them, you're helping to destroy them.
Yes, I had a debate on Al Arabiya, however you say that TV show, on Friday. It's going to air tomorrow. And the debate was with the Ukrainian member of parliament. And this Ukrainian member of parliament, she's coming out and casting stones at Donald Trump's direction for trying to settle a peace. I'm casting stones in Donald Trump's direction because he's failing to establish a peace. But the Ukrainians who are with Zelensky are actually upset that he's trying to establish peace. I mean, it's the most insane thing I've really ever seen. Maybe there's some sleeper cell agents in Kiev, and secretly they understand that maybe a lot of these territories would be better off under Russian representation. I don't think so, but maybe. But this just goes to show that none of these people care about Ukrainians. If they cared about Ukrainians, they wouldn't send 1 million men to their death. If they cared about upholding the Nuremberg laws, or the Nuremberg Code, and international laws they always talk about, they wouldn't be supporting these certain paramilitary groups within the Ukrainian military, these far-right nationalist groups. And if they really cared about the Ukrainian constitution, they would not have illegally couped their president back in 2014, which is exactly what they did. They were 10 votes shy of an impeachment, but they kicked him out regardless and decided to move forward with this State Department Victoria Nuland project. So it's all very sad.